Grab our hook, keep your stitch marker handy, and grab your yarn. How to do is how to hold your yarn to make a slip knot. So I like to grasp between my thumb and my first finger, and I loop around like so. And then you're going to pull this yarn that's connected to your ball up underneath your loop. And then when you pull it through the loop, hold on to both ends of the yarn with your left hand and then pull on the loop with your right hand. And there is your slip knot. Place your crochet hook into your slip knot. And there you have it. Bring the yarn around your hook like this. So that's a yarn over. And then you're going to pull the yarn through the loop on your hook. And that is your first chain. The loop on your hook doesn't count as a chain. So let's do it again. So you yarn over by wrapping the yarn around your hook, and then you pull through, and there is your second chain. Again, yarn over, pull through, and there's your third chain. You know, what I didn't go over is probably something you should know is how do you even hold your yarn? So I like to wrap the yarn. Here's the yarn end, by the way. So I wrap it around my pinky, bring it up across my palm and around. And that's kind of the construct of how I like to hold my yarn, like this. So we're going to continue making another chain. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So let's count our chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you don't count the loop on your hook. Let's do one more for 6. And there is your chain. Now, the next step we're going to learn is how to do a single crochet. In single crochet, when you do it, you're going to start in the second chain from your hook. And you don't count the loop that's already on your hook. So you're going to stick your hook into the second chain. Now, some people might go into the back bump here. I like to go into the top loop of the chain. So there's different options. I go into the top loop and I yarn over. And when I yarn over, I pull the yarn through that loop. And what you're going to find is 2 loops on your hook now. And you're going to yarn over again. And you're going to pull through the 2 loops on your hook. And that counts as your first single crochet. Now, because losing stitches or not being able to identify your stitches are really the hardest part as a beginner crocheter, it's really important that you're going to mark this first stitch with a stitch marker. That's what these things are for, okay? So you can see where you did your first loop. You can see those 2 loops in that first stitch. So just take your stitch marker and place it through the top 2 loops of the stitch you just created. What that's going to do is mark the first stitch of your single crochet on this row. So again, that's going to help you really understand where the beginning and end of your row is. So go ahead and put your hook through the second chain. The top loop is what I'm doing. Yarn over, which is wrapping the yarn around the hook and grabbing it and pulling the yarn through that loop. And then you're going to yarn over again and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. So now you've made 2 single crochets. Again, we're going to put our hook through the third chain, yarn over and grab it and pull it through. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops on your hook. Okay, we have 2 more chains left here. Put your hook in, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the 2 on your hook. And your last chain right here that you started with, put your hook inside of it, yarn over with the yarn, pull it through, yarn over, pull through the 2. So if you count your stitches, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so the next step, if this was your project, the next step would be to turn your work. Then you're going to chain 1. That chain doesn't count as a stitch. You just chain 1 to lift up your work so that you can easily work into your stitches as you continue on to this row. So row 2, you're going to put your hook through the top of your stitch. So you got 2 loops there. So now you're working through the 2 loops, which you would normally work through. You're going to yarn over, pull through, then yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. And that is now your first stitch of row 2. So what you'll want to do is grab another stitch marker, and you're going to want to place it inside or on top of that stitch because you want to be able to identify the start and end of your rows. So go ahead and put your stitch marker on the top 2 loops to mark the first stitch of row 2. So go ahead and put your hook through the second stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over again, and pull through the 2. And then the third stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and go through the 2 loops on your hook. Go through again, yarn over, go through the 2 loops on your hook. And so now you know exactly where the first stitch is from your previous round, which is now the last stitch of row 2. Sometimes it can be really hard to identify if you're not used to it and your tension's not even. It can be sometimes hard to identify it. So that's why using a stitch marker is really essential so that you can keep count of your stitches and ensure that you have a very, flat end. And because if we start skipping stitches accidentally, you'll start either having a triangle look or something like that instead of a rectangle. So that's really the basics of the single crochet. And what you would do is you would continue on, you would chain 1 and then continue on with a row of single crochet again if that's what you wanted to do. And I would put my marker on the top of that first stitch again, and you would continue on going across to do another row of single crochet. And you continue doing that on as much as you'd like to make your project as large as you'd want. And see, if I didn't have a stitch marker on there, sometimes it would be kind of hard to see. It's obvious to me right now, but sometimes that would be smaller, maybe if your tension was too tight, and really hard to see that, and you might accidentally skip it. So if you have a project that's, you chained 100, right, that'd be really hard to go from, count from 0 to 100 to make sure you have the right stitches. With only 5, it's obviously really easy to see, but with, say, 100 or like a blanket, it'd be 100 or plus chains, 150, 160 chains. It would be harder to count that and identify those stitches. And then your project might very slowly start creeping in, and you wouldn't even notice it until it's like a triangle. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is talk about the half double crochet. So to start the half double crochet, you could do the same thing and chain 6 or so, or however many you want to chain. And then you would turn your work and you would single crochet. If you're working off a chain, you would do a half double crochet into the second chain from your hook. But since we're starting our work like this, you're going to chain 1 just like we did with the single crochet. And that chain's not going to count as a stitch. For the half double crochet, this is the process. You're going to first yarn over, which means wrapping the yarn around your hook. And then you're going to place your hook into your stitch. And then you're going to yarn over and grab your yarn again, pull it through, and now you're going to have 3 loops on your hook. Remember, in single crochet, we only had 2 loops because we did not yarn over before we placed the hook through the stitch. For half double crochet, you're going to yarn over again, and then you're going to pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And that's your first half double crochet. You can see the construct of the stitch here, where it creates that V like that. And that's where you want to go ahead and put your stitch marker onto the top 2 loops of that stitch to mark the start of your row for half double crochet. Now, let's do it again. Identify where you're going to put your hook, which is inside this stitch, which means, I'll show you here. See, this is where you would place your hook. But when you do the half double crochet, the first step is to yarn over with your hook and then place your hook into the stitch. Yarn over again and grab your yarn. And now you see you have 3 loops on your hook. To complete the half double crochet, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. That's your second half double crochet. We'll do it again. Yarn over, put your hook through the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. We have 2 more stitches in this row, so go ahead and yarn over, put your hook through that stitch, yarn over and pull through 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Now you can clearly see where your last stitch is for the row. So remove your stitch marker, yarn over, go through that last stitch, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. And now you can turn your work. And after you turn your work, to start your half double crochet row, you're going to chain 1, yarn over. And remember, that chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. It's simply just to lift up your stitches so that you can more easily crochet into this row. Yarn over and go through that stitch, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And that is your first half double crochet for this row. So here you can see where the first stitch starts. Go ahead and place your stitch marker into there so you can clearly identify the first half double crochet for the row. Complete your half double crochet across. And remember, you yarn over when you start with half double crochet, place your hook through the stitch, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So we'll go ahead and do our last one here. You can see how that stitch is getting a little harder to see, maybe because the tension's a little tighter there. So you yarn over, go through that last stitch, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So now what you've done is 2 rows of single crochet, and now 2 rows of half double crochet. The next thing we're going to learn is how to do the double crochet. Now double crochet is taller than half double crochet, so that means you should probably chain 2, although I often only chain 1, but to make it easier for you, I would chain 2, and that doesn't count as any sort of stitch. That's just to raise it to the level of where the double crochet is going to go, and so that doesn't count. And then you're going to yarn over for double crochet, just like you did for half double crochet. You're going to place your hook through the first stitch. And let me just show you again. So you chain 2, and those don't count as any sort of stitch. So you're still going to start where your stitch marker was, which is right into that first stitch. So you've yarned over, place your hook through that stitch, yarn over again, and pull through. So again, like half double crochet, you have 3 loops on your hook. But instead of pulling through all 3, you're going to pull through the first 2 stitches only. And then you're going to have 2 stitches on your hook. What you'll do now is you'll yarn over again and pull through the last 2 stitches. And there's your first double crochet. So the top of the stitch, as you can see, is a lot taller, and we're going to go ahead and place our marker there so we don't lose track of where our first double crochet is for this row. All right, doing it again, we're going to yarn over. You can see right here, which is where your stitch will go through. Place your hook through the stitch, yarn over, pull through. We've got 3 loops, just like half double crochet. You'll yarn over, and for double crochet, you're going to pull through the first 2 loops only. And then yarn over again and pull through the next 2 loops. And there's your second double crochet. Again, yarn over, go through that stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, go through 2 loops, and then yarn over again and go through the last 2 loops on your hook. And now we have 2 more to go. So you're going to yarn over, go through that second to last stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now you can see your last stitch, so go ahead and remove your stitch marker. Yarn over, place your hook through that last stitch, yarn over, pull through the 2, and then yarn over and pull through 2. So you've completed your first row of double crochet. So we'll go ahead and turn our work, and we're going to do 1 more row of double crochet. So you'll chain 2, which doesn't count as a stitch, yarn over, and find that first stitch. Go ahead and place your hook in there, yarn over, pull through the first 2, and then pull through the last 2. There's your first stitch in this row. Next, you will yarn over. Well, no. Next, I almost forgot, see, and then I'd mess up, but you want to make sure you mark that first stitch right here with your stitch marker to prevent dropping a stitch or losing a stitch. Okay, so yarn over, go through the next stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2, yarn over, go through the next stitch, and you go through 2. Second to the last stitch here, do your double crochet. Now the last one you can see as identified with your stitch marker. Take off your stitch marker and yarn over, go through your last stitch for the row, pull through, yarn over, and there you go. You've completed the double crochets. So what I have here is the demonstration we just did, which is you did your chain. We did 6 stitches or 6 chains after we did our slip knot. You did your chain, and then you did a single crochet row, and then you went into a half double crochet and a half double crochet row. And then you did double crochet and a double crochet row. So that's 6 total rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Blankets. I've seen plenty of blankets using just double crochet and half double crochet. You can transition with different colors as you go through it, and then you can make a really nice blanket. I like to sometimes double up my yarn here, use bigger hook, double up the yarn, or even triple strand the yarn using these simple stitches, and you can make a rug, for example, a square rug. I really want to emphasize using the stitch markers, because if not, and that's the mistake I did in the beginning, was I didn't use stitch markers and I didn't want to count my stitches because I just thought that was too tedious. But it's totally worth it, and I would totally recommend you do it, because if not, you will start losing stitches and you'll start making your project look like this, basically, and it starts becoming a triangle. Do fun things like amigurumi. Like this turtle is entirely made of single crochet. I didn't use any other stitch except single crochet. All single crochet, working on the round. I didn't use any double crochet or half double crochet. So other things that you make as a beginner that I would recommend is to go ahead and start with a chain 20, and so it'll make it bigger. So this is only 6, so 20 is going to be much wider, and go up 20 by 20, and you're going to make a square. And if you use cotton yarn and you have a 20 by 20, you could make a really nice dishcloth, something easy. Which one's your favorite stitch? Is it the single crochet, which was this first one? Was it the half double crochet, or was it the double crochet? Which one do you like more? There's different uses for the different types of stitches. You can see the double crochet is taller. The half double crochet is half as tall. Make sure you use a stitch marker. Let me know in the comments below what you're going to use these stitches for. What are you going to make? I'd love to know. I'd love to see your projects. Share it with me on Instagram. Thanks for watching.